with beautiful dead air.
Now recording.
There we go. Welcome to the Yanggang Roundtable. It is 2:03 p.m. Saturday, February 13th, 2020, the momentous year of 2021. Wow, it's 2021, not 2020. Anyway, only two flubs in the introduction. I'm here. We have an open discussion on poverty, basic income, and electoral politics. We have myself, Sheridan, King Refluence, and Mia, who is not feeling very well. So I'm particularly grateful that you're here. Every illness, every scratchy throat and little fever and cough is frightening in this time. So
yeah.
So I recognize that, and I respect that. I'm not sure what else to say, but I'm glad you're here. So how's everybody feeling today?
Better
than
You kind of
than what?
explained for me.
Huh?
I'll go get myself tested tonight, though, just so you guys know. Don't have to worry.
Good.
Yeah, indeed.
I don't want to get sick over the internet.
I almost got the vaccine. There was a flyer running around my town to just call and make an appointment, like regardless of the priority groups. Unfortunately, when I called, it was already full.
Darn.
So it was very, very much you had to get on there. But
Yes.
it's nice to see that's popping up in some places. So are we live?
We are.
Yep.
We are.
We're
Oh
talking
my
about
gosh.
Live, yes.
a little late today.
Because
Hello.
holy crap, we have so much to talk about. Like, I think I'd like to start with the impeachment, because that's going on today as we speak.
Right.
Calling witnesses, even though they weren't going to, right?
No, they apparently, the House managers and Trump's defense team reached a deal where they are not going to call witnesses. Though we don't know what the House managers actually got out of the deal, because witnesses are, kind of the whole point, getting evidence. So,
I mean, the whole point was to make Republicans actually listen.
yeah, I don't know why they're not calling witnesses, and I am just so upset, because we need to have all the evidence of the trial in the trial, even if it's just a sham political trial.
Why is it so
What could
important we have all the
possibly-
evidence if it's just a sham?
Because this is a trial in the Senate is not a trial in court. It's a trial of public opinion. So we need to have all the evidence available so that anyone who actually wants to know the truth can find it and not just see a political sham.
Yeah.
Any
I really
conjecture for me
that
that might have actually been that valuable that they were willing to trade away their witnesses for it. Like, what could?
I don't know
possibly
what
be-
it is. I don't know what the deal is. All we know so far is that the witnesses are not being called because of this deal.
I just think of like the evil way that like Emperor Palpatine said the Senate. He went like the Senate, and I think like that's like what they are. Like you can just like
Oh,
call
man.
them that with that kind of like evil Palpatine accent, because like they're the Senate. Like they're just like sick.
Yeah, it really is sickening, and I'm sure it's not just in our generation. I'm sure that's why the Senate was in Star Wars like that.
Right. And Palpatine was the Senate. He was like, I am the
Senate, yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Like it's like some just like the Senate is just not just
I am
it's not
the
even it's not
Senate.
yeah, I am the Senate. Like hey, this doesn't make sense. This is bad. This is like terrible. How can we change this? I am the Senate. Like there's
It's
nothing you can do.
fine. No need to change anything.
Yeah.
Everything works.
last time we had an impeachment, one could definitely argue it was over much less serious allegations, and they went ahead and did it. How are these things comparable? And how
Look, they're just
in a
doing it so we
rational
don't talk
world,
about the checks. All it is palace intrigue. All it is a way to shuffle the news cycle away from their failure at delivering on the 2K checks. That's it.
It's a way to control the narrative, right?
That's why they don't really
It's
care about
like-
how they're doing it. They have no intention of getting any outcome with it. Anything meaningful.
Disgusting.
It's just a waste our time.
Kind of like
waste our energy.
Well, I mean, if you think about like crime, your first priority should be to help out the victims of the crime, and punishing the perpetrator should be in that line. But if like someone has multiple stab wounds, and you say, oh, once we like convict the guy who did that to you, then we're gonna help with your stab wounds and send you to the hospital. Like, the guy's dead before you get the guy that did that to him, you stupid fucking idiots,
I'm gonna say he should be impeached. Like, that's not a thing that shouldn't happen here.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be top priority though. It's like
I'm saying
you
it
should really
be
take
top
care
priority.
of
I'm
people
saying
before
top
delivering
priority
out some
is like
ceremonial justice.
Stabilize the country first that's dealing with all this, and then go after the bad guy.
Take care of the lives, save the lives of the citizens who are in jeopardy. That's the number one priority, and then stabilize the country, and then.
But the Republicans don't go along with it. To go through reconciliations to get it, so that's just the way that is.
It doesn't.
You know
what? Even if they had all the support of the Republicans, the Democrats would find a reason not to do it.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify. Trump has been impeached. Impeachment happens in the House. Both times he is impeached, he was not convicted, and it's likely he's not going to be convicted in this impeachment. But with the last impeachment, and what we were hoping to get with this impeachment, was evidence. Because like last time, the crimes were kind of paltry to be pushed against Trump. But at least there was like solid evidence of these allegations. Not calling witnesses is not even having the evidence of the crime that happened. It's just saying we're going to acquit this dude for no reason because it's political.
Well, if the toupee don't fit, you must acquit.
Sadly, the toupee does, and they won't.
Oh gosh, can we just us the presidency for a little while? Like, we'll fix everything.
Yeah.
The Yanggang Roundtable will come in and fix the government in like one night if you just give us permission.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can kick us out the next day. We'll go in, we'll fix it. All the problems will be gone. It's not that hard to solve. You are willfully making these mistakes, you assholes.
Yeah.
Right.
If we could just replace the democratically elected Congress with a lottery, that would solve the problem of corruption, because you can't buy off a lottery.
That would.
Like you can buy an election. I'm not even joking.
What kind of
just a random citizen who is considered to be of sound body and mind and working age of a state is chosen to be the congressional representative if they would like to. And if they would like to, they go serve. And if not, the lottery happens again. You choose somebody else until you get someone who wants to serve. And what you can do then, you can have a recall election if someone's a real tool bag. And that can happen. But that's harder to corrupt because, you're not going to prepare that with donations. There's no way to donate for that kind of election.
When I really think about it, it's like, in what dumpster fire do we find these people?
It's the people who can thrive in this broken system. The system that rewards the most corrupt, the most complicit.
It's really playing the green game first, because you have to be able to get your message out and connect with your target voters. And to do that, you really have to have money to persuade advertisers, because we don't have public financing of campaigns.
Yeah.
Well, my dad listens to Rush Limbaugh, and this is still about the presidency, and they were talking about how Trump was getting really close to the crux of the problem, like whatever about draining the swamp, and like this caller mentioned that topic, and then whenever the impeachment happened and whatever was happening, that was when Trump was getting close to the problem of the system. So that's their narrative. I don't know who else. I know the narrative is like Trump's the problem, but maybe Trump was getting close to the problem. Right.
Well, that's honestly just a really bad framework of a criminal committed crimes. So
Right. So it's like I'm really confused on like what why are they trying to make the problem worse? Like I don't see. I mean, like for the money, right?
No,
Like
it's not like
right,
Trump was revealing something that everybody doesn't know anyways. Like, acting like that
right,
was some huge thing to shut him up about. No, they know, the American people know. We know. Talking, they don't wanna talk about it, but it's not like they're trying to shut us up. They just don't give us air.
yeah, it's more about not listening to us than Trump actually getting it close to anything. The reason these things are happening is because he broke the fucking law that we've all
right.
agreed on. So yeah, in a way, they're right. He was getting close to illegality and criminality. So
His
Right,
own,
yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird point. That was a weird narrative to understand, like or whatever they were trying to say.
Don't worry, if you were having trouble understanding that, I have a feeling it's because there's flaws in the narrative.
Yeah,
yeah,
true.
there definitely needs to be a lot more consistency, like especially from the Democrats. Like we were promised 2K checks would go out the door if we gave the Democrats Georgia, and we're still wallowing. Like, and now it's $1,400 to some people, and the threshold may get lowered. And we're not even going to worry about that until March because of this impeachment.
Ossoff and Warnock are like in. Like, shouldn't they be like screaming at their dumb colleagues to I don't know. It's like,
You'd think.
right? So someone needs to put pressure on them and say, hey, you do realize why you're there is because of this. Hello, and just kind of like that.
Call it out.
Yeah,
Indeed.
just get no, seriously, just flood them with emails and phone calls, because we should have tracking numbers on our promises. We should have yeah, like seriously, this is ridiculous. It's like whenever you if you're buying from a store or online, like you're tracking if the thing is delivered. Why don't we have that same mechanism for like political promises? Should you know?
I'll be right back, guys. I need a minute, sorry.
Absolutely. See you in a bit, man.
um,
Kai, you got any say in this, Kaizen? Or is she's just listening?
Yeah. Sometimes you walk walk away and come back.
I'm here. I'm listening,
Hi.
and I think there's a good future for politics if we can implement tools like blockchain. My biggest bugaboo with all of it is the lack of accountability piece, but it kind of it goes even deeper than politicians don't live up to their promises. It's that I am not certain that my vote is actually going to the person that I voted for because there's no way to track it. And I like this whole idea of secret ballot. I think is a mistake in an open democracy. That's not how the democracy used to work. Like, that's not how the actual democracy worked in Greece. They used chit sheets and they dropped it in a bowl, and it was visible to everybody where you dropped your token. There was, and I understand, like, one of the reasons that we want it to be kind of anonymous voting or blind voting or however you want to term it, that it's to keep people from being influenced. You know, it's to protect people from being kind of bribed into casting their vote a certain way, because if you can't see how somebody's voting, it's harder to influence them to do what you want them to do. That makes sense. But like, I would love to get a receipt when I vote that I can then go enter in that code the same way I would look up a tracking number for my certified mail, right? And see exactly what was on my ballot when it was tabulated, so that I know that the people that I voted for are actually the ones that are getting the vote counted. And then the next layer is the founding document. If we include the Declaration of Independence as one of those documents, which we don't treat it that way legally, but technically that was the document that established a new nation. We didn't get the rest of it for several more years. We fought a war in there, and then they had Constitutional Convention, and the writing of the Constitution happened much later, right? But we had declared our independence. So that's a founding document. And it says consent of the governed. It doesn't say consent of the registered voters. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that anywhere in any of those documents. It says nothing about registering to vote. It says nothing about requiring a registration for vote. It doesn't say anything about who's eligible to vote or who's not eligible to vote until you get into the weeds of the amendments saying, oh, and voting extends to these groups. You know what I'm saying? But no part of the way that we do voting anywhere in the United States is consistent with that founding document that says consent of the governed. And anyone who lives in the United States is governed by our laws. And therefore, in principle, on those documents, they should have a say in who represents them and what laws are passed and what laws apply to them. They should have a say. And I don't think there should be age restrictions. I don't think there should really be any restrictions. Have you paid a tax anywhere in the United States? Guess what? You get a freaking vote.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you bring that up, because I think like young people in any society are like the most oppressed and the most like voiceless. And it's funny how when you're like what, like in first and second grade, they make you like pledge allegiance to the flag, and you don't, when you literally don't know like what the word allegiance even means. Like words like indivisible, with when you're like in third grade, you're like invisible, like what the hell? Liberty and just like you don't know what it means, and they force you to say it like almost every day at the start of the day, and it's like, damn, like, oh, so you think we're really that different from North Korea? It's like
Oh shit.
So like, that's kind of my point. It's like, when we teach civics, we teach it as if it applies to everybody. But when you get down to the brass tacks of it, you're having something like 13% of the whole population show up at the polls and cast a vote. Well, how is that consent of the
not
governed?
only that, but like, you know, like you said, like after you vote, and you know that person made all these campaign promises, and they just get in and they're like, yeah, I just didn't feel like it, like I just want the money. It's like, you know, like what the hell?
Well, and even the so-called most recent liberal president, Obama, well, he didn't take public campaign finance. So his disclosures of who donated to his campaign for his first election, it's never been revealed, and we will never know who funded his campaign. But he generated more campaign donations than any candidate in the history of the United States up to that point, with no disclosures. And that said something to me even then of, oh, I can't trust this guy. I don't give a shit how he said he got all that money. It's not from grassroots. I know better. Because poor people don't have that much money, even if you pull them all together. We jointly don't have enough wealth to justify the numbers he got. So then the real question becomes, who's in your pocket? Oh, and we don't have to know, and it's none of our business because you didn't take public campaign dollars.
Like
Well, wait a minute.
like the Capital One commercial. What's in your wallet? Or
Right?
or who's in your wallet?
Right? It
Yeah.
made me immediately suspicious of what Obama was really up there for. And now we've gone through 2 Obama presidencies. I didn't see Gitmo closed
you
down.
know-
I didn't see extraordinary rendition end. I didn't
Right.
see that our troops get pulled. I saw us
I mean,
escalate to
you know,
illegal wars
that's
with
why
drone attacks.
I think
That's
like
what I saw.
I think being a comedian has now become like one of the easiest jobs like out there, because it's like it's all a joke. It's just like
That just sucks, but
living
it's
in this
funny.
like
Some actual
bizarro.
comedians, they'll tell you otherwise. It's such a joke they are getting pushed out of work.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, like reality is like tailgating the Onion, basically. That's what's like happening here. I saw a funny thing where it said like Andrew Yang like calls for to more civility, and then he gets chased out by an angry mob.
That was a good old one.
Yeah, it was one of the good ones. And yeah, like I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's basically what happened.
Right, yeah, and it's so like amazing that we just like somehow when it comes to like holding our political leaders accountable, like everybody shrugs their shoulders, but when it comes to holding like a corporate, well, I mean not like a small business owner accountable, like they can get in so much trouble if they, like mess up on their taxes, or give the wrong thing, or a waiter like gives you the wrong order. It's like instant accountability. But with these assholes who have so much like power and privilege and influence, there's like there's like a fraction of that accountability. It's like 1/1000th of the accountability of a small business owner. Yeah, that's not right. It's something we gotta come to grips with, especially now.
it's the laws of the land we gotta follow, but then we gotta, the govern. However, Kai said it. It's up
Yeah.
to us essentially.
So there should be like I think like just like each, I don't know, half a month, like everyone elected should like have someone grill them on where they are with all their campaign promises and how they're working on it.
Like
And like
accountability.
yeah, like accountability. And then if they're really not doing anything, they should just be recalled. Like seriously, like
Yeah.
defective merchandise. It's like
True.
We
that's
can
what they
fund
are.
everything in America. Why not our politicians?
Right.
100%. I mean, aren't we're so capitalistic that when something doesn't work and when something is like messed up or defective, like we get a refund, we call out the thing. Yeah, and why not them? This is a very capitalist idea of accountability. It just is. It's like you break it, you buy it. I mean, like, it's
She.
yeah, it's kind of like, but I mean, like, if they're breaking, their promises, yeah, like we refund. You broke a promise, and yeah, it's like we get a refund because yeah, it's like they bought the promise, they broke the promise, and they're gone. Yeah.
So wait, what are we talking about? I was talking to my niece.
No, it's
Like
accountability stuff.
right.
Like that. So yeah, like but I don't think that it's so impossible to do. I just think like we need to kind of come
Oh,
together to yeah, what's up?
I have an idea. What if we had like a blockchain for voting? Like we use cryptocurrency to you get like a free token, token.
Yeah.
You use it to vote. Yeah.
Hey, and when I was working with the Green Party in Missouri, we actually had, it was some guy, he's with some band, Oasis, Maroon 5, I don't know, I can't remember. But he's a musician and he's invested in this blockchain company that's doing blockchain applications for voting.
Right.
And it's like amazing stuff. It's amazing stuff. And they're like, to my mind, so that way we could open it up for people that are comfortable doing that kind of technology for voting, make it accessible to them, let them cast their vote that way. They can track it that way. You got a secure channel both ways that nobody knows but the election board and the voter who has what number. Nobody else will know. Kind of the same way that they do now, because even the paper ballots each has a coded number on it so that you know it's a unique ballot, right? So why couldn't we just get a tear off chit sheet with that number on it? And then later on, I can go home, look that number up on the Board of Elections website, and again, verify that the things I put on that piece of paper got coded correctly. There's no reason we couldn't do that. And that would improve, I think, our feelings that things aren't so rigged. But
Like
that won't work very well in a caucus situation. It won't, because it's not how a caucus works. And it's probably not going to work too well for primaries, although I would love for it to, because I think that's where it really is rigged. This is where I don't think Trump was wrong at all. He knows it's rigged. Everybody knows it's rigged. But the question is, where's the rig? It was none of the places his attorneys were digging up shit, in part because they don't actually want to reveal where the rigs are. They don't want the voters to know. They want us to question it. They want us to doubt how secure things are, but they don't really want us to know where they've jacked the system. And the two biggest jacks, I think, are in the primary process. And then the second biggest jack goes back to what I was just saying earlier, where they've never counted the votes correctly. The documents don't say anything about registering to vote, of being a certain age. They don't say none of that shit. It's consent of the governed. And when the governed aren't showing up to vote, it means they don't consent to anybody on that ballot. And rather than counting all of the people not showing up as a not consent, we just pretend like that's not happening.
Well, that's largely because of the way our Constitution frames individual states' rights and how they have the power to organize their elections. Though I do agree, if we had more accountability, like automatic voter registration, we would have a lot more of those people who are, like you were saying, should be registered, should be in our process, and should be counted. They would actually be getting notifications about these elections. But unfortunately, because we are focused on the neoliberal democracy, where if you have a job, if you have wealth, if you have the means to participate in our democracy, then and only then are you allowed to participate. That's the defining narrative of our democracy right now. And we do have to expand the franchise to everyone. But it's sadly, it's not exactly going to be by using a blockchain technology, as much as I'd like that. Because even Estonia, which has a purely online democracy, they still use paper ballots for some of their elections, because it is just better.
Right. Man. Just having a lot of people in one area is already a problem, but there's got to be a better way. It's like you got to put more trust in the people and more trust in the leaders. That's the problem. I think.
I think the better way is just by enfranchising everyone. Just give everyone monthly cash, and then all of our voter ID laws, all of our lack of access, all of the costs of participating in our democracy basically vanish. They still exist and still need to be reformed, but they aren't the immediate hurdle that they are.
Yep, UBI, dude.
Yeah, it's like a lubricant, or just like the initial seed that like these things can sprout from. It's a starting point, and you can't start without one. That's yeah.
Remember what Yang called them? Democracy dollars? Dude,
Yeah,
that would be make so much sense if you
Right.
like made it like you advertise it, like go use it and have it for you to be able to vote safely and securely, and you can have whatever you want with the money. It's democracy dollars, like literally for the democracy,
that's.
right?
I truly think that either public financing of elections or democracy dollars would completely change our primary process across the nation. Because the hardest thing for most candidates is the green game, actually getting enough funding and traction to survive as a team and like continue to spread your message. And that's why so many do turn to PACs and larger political organizations which have defined interests
Right.
because they got that money. They can win the green game.
That's kind of unfair though. Like right now, like
It's
it's really
complete.
about it's really about who had the initiative to gather the capital, right? That's just tough, man. Even for younger people.
Especially for younger people, because we have such a small slice of the circulating economy right now that we don't really have young people
Well,
packs.
I mean that's just oppression. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all that is. I mean,
She.
it's amazing to say that what it is, because you don't get it's illegal for anyone under the age of 16 to what, even work a job, right? What is that? Like, I think
Uh.
you have to be 16 or older, unless like you're volunteering or doing a lemonade stand or something like that,
Yeah.
and that's so screwed up that it's like, here we are, you're still buying things and like paying taxes on it, but at the same time, like, oh, like your voice doesn't count until we tell you with some arbitrary number that like really doesn't make sense. And the whole thing that we miss, like a transition period of like, it's like, oh, the minute you get a degree and the minute you're, you finished like, a certain grade, it's like, oh, you're an adult now. Like, we never introduced you to like how these things work, but we expect you to know already. Yeah.
Sure.
They just throw you into the fire, dude. Like nothing.
Right. They're so stupid. It's like, and the like plenty of time to introduce us to all of these concepts when we're trapped in a room with some probably boring person we're wasting our time for no reason on
Probably
nonsense
some.
we can look up
Yeah.
on.
You can look up online, right? Like a lot of the shit I learned during high school, I looked up during online, like how to
Right, yeah.
find the
If
cell of the whatever.
they tell us
Yeah,
like,
how to call your congress people.
right,
Yeah.
they should tell us not what to think but how to think, and that's the problem. you know it's just the thing, and then you have a whole fucking population with like very little critical thinking skills, because the whole command and control structure of the schooling system is not about consent, it's about force. And then you throw people into a world that's based on consent other than force, but their whole lives of like growing up have only been based on force. Idiots.
But 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 it is all based on force, because what happens if you don't pay your taxes? The IRS shows up and will start taking your shit.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, how do you stop it? You don't stop it. Why? Because the cops are on the side of the IRS. The sheriff will show up in your house and take your shit if you owe money to the IRS. I know people it's happened to, so I know I'm not just making that up. So this is where I'm like, what part of our society really is all about consent on mutual levels? Or is it all always under a veiled threat of force? And this is where I say, yes, it's always with this veiled threat of force. You're going to do it our way. If you don't like it, that's too bad. We'll put you behind bars if you push back hard enough in the right way. So you might get by with not paying your taxes, not filing income taxes for most of your life. But does anybody feel secure enough to take the risk?
Hell nah.
I honestly think that that is an absurdity. It's the same as debtor jails. We outlawed throwing people in jail because they owed debts, because we know that that's immoral, especially when we know that they cannot make money in jail. It's immoral and completely backwards. But taxes are a different matter. Because taxes are, in theory, only applied when you make money. But a lot of cases, either you don't know how the tax code works, or you use it wrong, and you can end up getting thrown in jail for owing money. Like Kaizen was asking, at what level is there mutual consent? I do think that that's a very good question, because we should have it at all levels in our society if we want to be a society focused on democracy, capitalism, and equity, with everyone having their own sovereign opinions. But we don't have that because most people can't actually break against the entrenched powers, like large corporations in small towns, or the authoritarian government telling you that you have to do this thing or this thing. And that's where basic income really shines its light. Like, even if it's a measly amount of money, you can still use that money to fight for yourself.
It's kind of dumb that how the IRS needs your money when the Fed just prints out new money to give to the corporations and
Well,
stuff.
that's I honestly
That's a whole nother
centuries long economic discussion on the value of currencies, because the reason we tax currencies is to pay back debt to strengthen our currency on the global stage.
Oh,
right.
There's a question in the Twitch chat. I just got back, but I figured I'd mention that real quick. They want to know if anybody's read The Republic by Plato.
The Republic. That sounds familiar.
Yes, absolutely. It was required as part of our Western civilization course in college. So I've read it twice because I had to take that class twice. I changed colleges.
It wasn't part of the previous portions of the conversation, so I don't know why that's relevant, but I figured I'm sure it's got nothing to do with the conversation.
Over Greece and the original democracy, so I think that's where it came from.
Gotcha. Sorry, I'm still under the weather, so I'm going to be really quiet, but I'm here.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Thank you for being
Thanks for pitching that in. So, I mean, to answer the question, I've read The Republic. It's been years ago, but this is where. So what's the value of a college education? It's being exposed to stuff like that, of understanding where the founding fathers got some of the ideas that they formed these documents with. And that is all about critical thinking skills. And it's not taught in the public schools, but it for sure is taught in college, if it's a good college.
100%. Because especially if you're in a proper college that forces you to build your own program, or at least understand how to register your own classes, then you can really be meticulous on where you go. And by having to think about what teachers you're going to deal with, what classes you need, or what prerequisites you have to accomplish, you really do think about your time and how you spend it. And that is very, very core to critical thinking.
It's healthy.
I think just the function of college is a great model of school.
Yeah. Big brain.
See, I lucked out in the public school system simply because I was able to attend an alternative program. And that alternative program isn't like what most people think of as alternative program anymore. Alternative programs are remote situations or online learning situations for kids that can't cut the regular classroom for whatever reason. But our alternative program was based on the free schools of the 60s. That was more about independent study and independent scholarship, and that the teachers weren't there to tell us how to think, but were there to be resources for us as we followed our own learning curve.
Oh, that's
Right?
wonderful. That's
Right.
like the Sudbury model. Have you heard of that? Like, I did a whole presentation on like unschooling and democratic schooling. So go ahead.
That's cool.
So it was definitely a democratic school in the fact that we in our alternative program, which was about 250 students altogether for all 4 grades, 9 through 12, that when it came to our alternative program classes, we set our own schedule. The teachers didn't pick what time they were teaching world history. The students picked what time that class was going to be offered. It was all about the numbers of this. These are requirements. X many kids need to have these classes. When can we get the most kids that need that this semester, and where should it be? And that helped us be able to get better electives. We were able to teach our own classes. So we did have some student taught classes. We had community taught classes in our alternative programs on topics that you never would have gotten in the regular school system. Things like I took twice a class called The Bomb, and it was an exploration of the politics, the social atmosphere, and the science of developing nuclear weapons, and what kind of impact did that have on us at that time when in the early 90s, and how were we seeing what nuclear technology has done to us as a country, as a world, since that day that we formed those weapons, and what was really at stake. And it was in that class that I remember, and it applies today, of one of the 2 teachers, the social studies teacher in that course, was our program director. And she said, kids, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't need to be afraid of Russia. Russia's never been a threat to us. And never will be, because they are not interested in waging war against the United States. They're interested in going to space. That's why they were interested in nuclear power all along. We don't need to worry about that. We don't need to worry about Russia bombing us, but we need to keep our eye on China, because they have a plan. It's a 100-year plan, and they're in the middle of it, and they're going to clean up. And it's been 30 years later, and who are we talking about now? It ain't Russia. It's a little bit Russia, but it's really not Russia.
No,
It's
Russia,
China.
The way we're talking about Russia right now is as a more of a rogue foreign power, like how we talk about North Korea. It's not as in a global national threat, like how we do discuss China, because China does provide many different dimensions against America: economic, military, and frontier exploration. It really has been like, I know we had the Cold War and it was pitted as USSR versus America, but that wasn't really it. It was more that Russia was frustrated that America was wanton terrorists on a global stage. We dropped a nuclear weapon on a country that was falling already, just as an experiment. And that is truly what Russia has taken issue against us for decades, that we didn't nuclearly disarm, that we didn't assure nuclear peace in the world. That's their primary grievance with us.
And when the Pentagon Papers came out, what was revealed is that the United States was almost single-handedly responsible for the escalation. Russia didn't have warheads the way that we claimed they did to the American people to justify our expansion of our nuclear arsenal. We were
Yeah.
like 100-1.
Oh,
At the beginning, we were at 100-1, and then we were
by the end, we were at
1,000-1.
2,000-1 by the end.
That's
But-
just nuts.
And what good has any of those warheads done any one of us? Nothing.
I
It's
mean,
done
why
nothing
can't we
good
make
for us.
peace heads?
And
Well, what's
Harry,
funny is
even
that
Harry Truman said we should have a Department of Peace.
that should
He's the one that
be
dropped the
State
fucking
Department.
bomb, and he said we should do that. We haven't done it yet. Why do we have a War Department but no Peace Department? It makes no sense.
Fuck. Maybe we are. Maybe humans are the peace department. We just gotta do it ourselves. Fuck
Right.
it, dude.
We just got to get rid of all these dumbasses that are in power. I mean, that's like thing because we always think no, their jobs are too complicated. We can never understand. No, actually, it's
It's a job that was designed for any citizen to participate in.
right.
Right.
And if Andrew Yang taught us anything, it's like they're afraid of just practical, intelligent problem solvers because they're leeches and parasites that just suck off of drama, just like that. Well, I mean that's what politics is if you really think about it. Like many ticks, poly means many, and we all know what ticks means. It's
Oh
like-
God.
fucking-
Okay, now they got the nasty idea in my head.
right? Yeah, but that's
Well, that ties right back into Plato's Republic, that politics is nothing more than the management of large groups of people. That's what the root comes from.
right. Yeah. Well,
And so we've turned it into this thing that's untouchable, but when in reality, it's just managing large groups of people.
right.
How do you manage a large group of people? Here are a whole bunch of different methods, and this is what ancient Greece
Right.
did. And it
I
seemed to
mean,
work okay for the people that got to participate, which wasn't very many people.
Yeah, doing that with their consent and their good faith and stuff instead of pitting them against one another, brainwashing them, like trying to control them and stuff. We noticed that, right? Just like it's 10 minutes before I have to go to Leyline, but I just wanted to let everybody know I did this new thing. It's called Ariel the Avalanche, and it really ties in with my personality. It's just like a no holds barred, just like things. So now I'm calling it Revolutionary Thinking with Ariel the Avalanche, and I'm gonna do like a cool like backstory of that. And I have it was cool. This fan made a video for me, and I was just flattered and honored that somebody would make a video and a poem and a song for me. That was really nice.
Wow. I want to have that fans.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm working on some creative, fun kind of like ideas for this whole like personality I'm building up, and
Don't forget us, Ariel.
Yeah, no. No, I mean, like, come and support it. Like, comment on the videos. We can have fun. I can kind of invite you guys, but like,
I saw that video. It was a good piece of music too. I enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, it all started when a while back. Some people call it what you want to call it. I paid a lot of money for this program that was supposed to make me like a great sales and a closer, quote unquote, but I just saw so much backstabbing and lying and cheating and all sorts of BS, and I just said, you know what, I don't appreciate this. I don't appreciate spending my hard-earned money on like an online program just to come in and see all the internal politics and all the garbage and stuff. So I said, you know what, as an Avalanche personality, I'm gonna come down on the liars and the cheaters and the bullshitters of the world like an avalanche. So that's where I got the inspiration.
True. That would be next level for you, dude. That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's like no fear, just no holds barred, just raw like power and emotion toward the BSers of the world, toward the scammers and cheaters and thing. And the beautiful part is it's like an avalanche. It's like they never see it coming. All of a sudden there's like a small little rumble and they look behind them and then all of a sudden what? Boom, they're buried. Yeah, that's really what I'm going for.
That feels
So
like
wish me luck.
I do wish you luck. I feel like that's your calling almost. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. It really does feel like my calling, man. And I hope it excites people. I hope people get like riled up. I mean, Andrew Yang always called it like a wave. Like we're gonna bring that wave to Washington. It's like, wait, well, the wave's got nothing on an avalanche.
Yeah, well, the wave's
Right.
so far off, you know.
What?
Right.
It's still like a year off. I think 2022 is going to be that big old wave. The wave that crushes the GOP.
Oh yeah, like they don't have Big Daddy Trump to hide behind anymore.
Well, they got Big Daddy Trump fighting against them now.
I'm not completely convinced that I shouldn't run as a Republican just because they're they're so horrible. And I know how to talk to conservatives in a way that they're not intimidated and they don't identify necessarily me with being a leftist, which is fine by me.
Well,
I would like to see some leftist thought come into the GOP because I'm tired of the solutions that old white men are coming up with. We've seen what it's done to our everything. And like, I'm just tired of their shit, man. No offense to any of the white men in this room. I'm not talking about you guys.
But I would just take away the word white and just say old people. I'm sorry, but I'm just kind of sick of it. Like, do you not include Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein in there?
Yeah, but my argument is that those women are nothing but white men in dresses.
Basically,
yeah.
I was honestly struggling with this question myself, Kai. Should I run Republican because I will have all the traditional ease? I will have a weaker party that will have disinterest, and I could take a greater market share. But the fundamental fact is the narrative of our nation right now is we are in a paradigm shift. The Democratic Party is weak, and it's likely to split. So it's better that we actually put pressure on the Democratic Party as a center-right party and convince Republicans to abandon the GOP and become blue dog Democrats. And then the Democratic Party will have enough pressure to fracture into a progressive wing and the center-right wing.
Right. The best thing is that this whole forward idea, I think we have like a piece of the Yang Gang as Republicans and a piece as Democrats, but like they can show that through that, like we don't need to subscribe to all the, divisive BS. Sorry, reference, I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's an interesting idea because of the paradigm shift. Because we're nearing 2022 already, so it's like it's already on the. I feel like something's gonna happen around near the end of the year. So
I feeling something big is going to happen in this year. So I think
funny
the year of the protest.
New progressive voice renamed his channel to Paradigm Shift.
Yeah.
And there who is that? You know that Barrington guy who was running in Georgia under like Yang Gang stuff, and then we had like Trumper for Yang. It's like they're becoming friends with each other. So
yeah, and Trumper for Yang is actually polling like really left. He's supporting like Medicare for all and a few other much more progressive policies, not just basic income.
Yeah, people are finally taking their blinders off and finally realizing that, we're being triangulated. We're being used as like pawns against each other by people who really don't give a crap about us like one way or the other. And it's like, why are we fighting with each other and letting them use us to fight with each other when we really should be fighting them? you know.
So
Yeah.
this has been an interesting week that I've had the opportunity to interact with people that I normally wouldn't ever interact with, because we've had workmen coming in and out of the house that we're moving into. And I talked with two different Trump voters, both white men, one a little bit older than me and the other one a few years younger than me. And the one thing that we all agreed on was that the system is rigged, and whether or not you agreed with Trump or in any of his policies or not, that his idea of draining the swamp was the thing that motivated a lot of people to vote for him, because they all recognize that there's corruption that hurts us. So it was less about, like, it's like, yeah, we saw that he was misogynist and a racist, but that's not why we voted for him. We voted for him because of the drain in the swamp. We voted for him because he was reaching out to us.
It's a deeper age-old struggle.
Yeah.
It's the elite
That's-
versus the peasants. It's
Yeah.
top
Yep.
versus bottom.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And this is where I just kind of think, like, well, and especially with UBI, it's a bipartisan thing. And I think I might have even sold the one guy who's like, no, I don't want to give my money to people that won't do anything. And I'm like, but honey, how many people do you know that are doing hard work and could just use it for their own gains in a way that would benefit you? And as we talked a little bit longer, he's talking about how he and his second wife adopted a kid, and then they got divorced. And what's he doing? He's paying alimony and child support for a kid that isn't even biologically his. And he's glad to do it. But why does she need that money? Right? And this is where I'm like, but imagine the future where there's a UBI, you're getting $2,000 a month from the government just because you live and breathe in the United States. And then how much of a burden are those checks to you at that point? Like, would you care as much that they're taking money out of your pocket for your kid?
That's
Probably
actually
not.
a really great way to
Wow.
frame it.
So what did he say?
Conservatives
Oh,
love
he was. I could see that the wheels were turning. You know, I could see
That's
in
the
his
point.
head that he's like, oh, yeah.
That's
like,
what we need.
and then
like, yeah.
and then it's also the flip side of, and then why would she need to ask for support if she's getting a UBI, and if your child's getting a portion of a UBI? Like, at that point, then do the courts really need to mess with that? Because really all those custody agreements and child support, it's entirely about property rights.
Yep.
Where our system treats children as the property of their parents.
Oh, that pisses me off so much.
It pisses
Because I remember being treated like.
But it pisses a lot of people off on both sides of the fence. On one side, it's my kids aren't property, and why are you making me treat them like property? And then it's on the flip side of, well, this is my financial obligation, but you're not giving me enough credit. And this is where UBI just kind of wipes all of that clean.
Holy
And
shit.
then we can,
It is a transformational policy, because it's so difficult to describe how obtrusive the federal government actually is when it tries to help. And that is, I believe, the core concern of most conservatives, especially ones that call themselves fiscal conservatives. What they are trying to do, in a very backhanded way, is restructure our government's resources to get to people who need it more effectively. But by creating these programs and barriers and requirements and all these other arbitrary rules that place the power of denial in the hands of unaccountable agencies, they create more barriers that make government larger and more cumbersome. And it's easier just to pay people cash, even if it seems like the more expensive option. It's the cheapest.
yes,
Hardware
absolutely.
programs cost labor as well as cash.
And actually, when you talk about human welfare programs, I'm not going to talk about corporate welfare, because that's
a whole other thing. That's something.
That's a whole different
That's
thing.
tax code. That's its own thing.
Well, and it's not just tax code though, because the government spends a lot of subsidy,
Yeah, the
and
subsidies are brutal too.
we don't call it welfare, but that's what it is.
It really is, and it's under the guise of national security, and it's like it then nationalize those industries. Like if it's truly that important, the nation should control it.
This makes me want to go to like my government building in Maui and like hold a sign saying like something like universal basic income.
And that's why we created this podcast and
Shit.
Refluence. It's like, remember you were just our YouTube commenter before you became, our speaker here, and we really like your contribution. But that's wonderful. Like you were just some random person in Hawaii who just stumbled upon us on YouTube, and now you're saying like, this makes me want to go out and hold up a sign and say this. That's perfect, because we're just hoping that more people will stumble upon us and listen to us and just say, that makes me want to go out and do this.
Now, while I love that optimism, there's a good saying. Believers focus on strategy, leaders focus on logistics. If this sounds like something you want to actually help, actually contribute some time to, or actually contribute money to, find a candidate who's running on these issues in your area to change your Congress. Or if you do not find someone who's doing that, do it yourself. The age for representative is 25. I believe the age for senator is 28. So it's like there's really no, it's like a very low bar to actually get into government and start changing things. You just have to have a good message and talk to your community and be real with who you want to represent.
What was the age for 25 again? Age for representative
of our congressional house representative. You do have to figure out what your district is, but it's very easy to find out.
Oftentimes, that information is on your voter registration card. It should tell you ward, precinct, all of that stuff.
Indeed.
I'm Googling how to become a representative in Hawaii. I'm doing it before I become 20. Well, right when I get 25, get to age 25, I'm going to try.
And
do it.
I do want to mention that age requirement is only when you take the oath of office. And that's in January of the year after your election. So you can be 24 when you actually get voted on in November. As long as you're 25 by January, you're good.
So I'm turning 22 in March, so that'll be like 2026, 2027.
Yeah. So I believe it's only even years that we have the representative elections. But Senate elections are on every 6 years, and there's special elections, so yours may be on an odd-numbered year.
Yeah. 2027.
For real.
All right, let's do it.
I would also recommend getting in with like your local progressive.
I'll come work on your campaign in Hawaii.
Yeah, there are other positions too. I mean, there are local positions at your municipality. There are positions at your state level. There's your state Congress, and that all matters too.
Yeah.
Almost as much, perhaps just as much as the federal stuff. Who's to say? Perhaps more.
That depends on your personal beliefs on where you believe the fractured power of our democracy has the most.
Yeah.
For example, a lot of people will say the presidency is the highest office in the land. And I would personally contend, as a constitutional textualist, that a representative is actually a higher office than the presidency, and that the president is merely an agent of the legislature.
True.
Yeah, there's a practicality behind that perspective. Hi, Faye.
Oh,
welcome to the show, Faye. Good to see you. But we're in the middle of talking about Refluence running for Congress, which is a good idea. But he's a bit young, so we might. But I was saying, let's if you can't run for Congress, and you would like to run for something sooner, nothing will stop you from running for whatever you can run for. If the thing you can run for is alderman, do it. Get in there. Start.
And honestly, the most important thing you can do is to start changing your community votes. If you get your community to understand what basic income is, what monthly cash would mean for their lives, and to start telling them who supports those policies, you will start swinging votes by the thousands. And that's really the game here, is by changing who's in power.
That's easy, bro. I can do that like in a flash, like nothing. Oh my god, that just changes my whole perspective about what I can do
If
now.
you're a streamer with like even a tiny fan base, and if they're potential constituents, they have the potential to vote for you, and they're like normally non-voters, you've got access to non-voters, which are like the most coveted commodity in the political world from the electoral perspective.
It's true. It's true.
And that's the way to really change things electorally, if electoralism is to work at all.
It is. I believe it is. I mean, if there was one sign I took from the Capitol attacks this year, it is that America is stalwart. We will persevere in our institutions and in our rituals.
Tenacious.
Indeed.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Faye, did you want to say anything when you came in?
I haven't been on the podcast the last 2 weeks, and I thought I'd pop in because I just ran into a giant snag, so I was like frustrated and not trying to be upset.
Well, welcome to the show, Faye. Tell us about the snag. Sorry having trouble, but I'm glad to hear from you. What's going on?
Oh, well, I'm currently in Tucson, which is nice because the weather's like 70-something degrees outside, which is much better than the rest of our country. But
I'm glad you got here and I'm safe.
yeah. So, but unfortunately, I have a giant leak right now in my truck.
Oh no!
I turned on the car and there was a giant puddle that just kept streaming out of it. So,
do you know what it is?
So I'm actually like really close to Angelo. You know Angelo. Angelo's gonna come to the rescue and look at my truck, so that's interesting. Which is good actually, but it means I might not be able to leave today to where I was trying to go.
It would be so cool if we had like one person from each state from the podcast. It's like, okay, Refluence, Hawaii, California, Angelo in Arizona, you're in New Mexico, Shayla's in New York,
I mean, we're already
Mia's
doing
in
it,
Michigan,
right? Like,
and Kai is in Kansas.
And we got
so it's
Diston
like
in Montana.
Yeah. Who?
Diston.
Yeah, he's in Montana, and we haven't heard him for. But this
I'm not
is
in
so
Kansas
cool.
anymore, honey. I'm in Indiana now.
Oh, you're in Indiana?
Better.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, okay. Yeah. More states to add. Yeah. So this is pretty nice that like now we see it's like we're a united front in like all over the country. I don't do we have an international one yet?
I mean, we have people from Canada who've been on our show.
You had people
right? Yeah. With international guests and London and
Izzy's in
Kenya
Chicago
and
too,
all this
which
stuff.
is good to note.
It's so cool. Like the main speakers are like all domestic from like all over the U.S. and then the guests are like international and stuff. It's pretty cool, you know.
We got Izzy in Chicago, Illinois too.
Right.
Yeah. And we have Texas represented by.
Yeah, we got Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, we got who is our Texas one again?
Other Faye.
That's Faye.
Oh yeah.
But you know what's so cool about this is like we're just friends too in all these different states. Like think about it. We're friends, but we're also trying to make the world a better place together. And we're like, hey, you want to do this thing? Let's train you up because we kind of have some cheat sheets we've already come across.
This is hilarious, you guys. I have to share this story. Okay, so I was in my mall, and then all of a sudden I was walking around, and I see this, like, I kid you not, this Japanese camera And I'm like, what are you guys here? And then they're saying they're from like the Tokyo News, and I'm like, what are you filming? And they're like, oh, like random people. He's like, you want to be
Oh,
filmed? And I'm like, yeah. And then
yeah.
they talk to me about like the how California is opening up and opening up more restaurants and opening up, and do I think it's more mature? And then I said the one thing you can't do is force people to be at home without paying them. And I gave them the whole thing. It kind of went over their
UBI.
heads a little bit. Yeah, it went over their heads a little bit, but at the same time, it was pretty cool. Like, dude,
That's
Look
I'm
at
like,
you trying to yang other people in other countries
right,
on
right.
their news channel. On their
Yeah,
news
exactly.
channel.
It was really cool. It was like, but then I asked them for like a card, and they said they didn't have one. And then they just said it was Tokyo Broadcasting System or something like that. I went to look
yeah.
them up online, but it was really like, I don't know, their website wasn't really that great. But hey, if it went out to the people who live in Tokyo, that's pretty awesome.
Konnichiwa.
That's amazing. Yeah, so
Yeah.
okay, can I tell you guys a little bit about like my adventures since I started? It's been
Yeah.
kind of crazy. Yeah.
I want to hear everything.
Oh man, no, we're gonna gloss over a lot of things that were just way too chaotic for this channel. No, I'm sorry.
Oh my.
Well, so there's freezing rain that hit, right? And I was in Fort Worth one day before that 100-something pile up cars that happened, where like multiple people died. And I had stopped in Fort Worth because I couldn't even drive because my windshield kept icing within like a minute of scraping it off. And I was like, well, I guess I'm here for the night. And I had somebody the next night, because I the same thing happened. I literally just saw a transformer blow. Okay, at first, like my heater went out in my truck. Okay, so I'm just miserable because it's really cold, and I'm sitting there, and I see, I have a blanket over my head. I'm like a cocoon of blankets. It's kind of pathetic, but I heard a boom, and I was like, well, that's not a normal sound. And I pull off my blanket, and I hear a boom again, and like the sky was green. I was like, fireworks? And then to the right, I saw this like big spark, like fiery thing, and an explosion. I was like, what's happening over there? Next thing you know, there's cops, and like, yeah, I don't know. So that was interesting to witness. Out of all the places I could have been. And then, there. It's also interesting to see like which areas people will mask up. I find that quite fascinating as I travel. Like if the state is warm and the income is higher, they honestly don't care about masks. They don't.
Wow.
I mean, it changes, but I think they're like, well, it's warm outside. The coronavirus is not as strong. Maybe also they're not suffering from as much stress because of poverty. I think this is all theory. I really don't know, but I
Right.
do notice there's a difference. And as far as like lower income areas, they're like, I can't even afford to get a ticket if I was supposed to, if you get caught without a mask or something. And so like they're even like fear mindset of like must wear a mask. Most businesses though require a mask, though there were certain states, there were certain states that like you could walk in and people are like, yeah. Some bars though, like I went to a bar in Florida, and they're like, you would be the weird one wearing one. Actually, maybe you shouldn't wear it. I was like, what?
Weird.
Not weird. Maybe dangerous is more
Yeah,
accurate.
dangerous.
But that's a public setting, but they were outside too, but I think even on the inside they weren't really wearing them, in most places if you sit down at a restaurant, they'll just like, they don't even care, right? And that's most states, because you're gonna eat, right? Let's see, what else have I witnessed while traveling? The mental health of a lot of people has declined rapidly that I've met. People are like,
That just sucks.
yeah. But other people who have started projects because of Andrew Yang have actually been growing on their projects, such as this gal Michelle here in Tucson, who has a community center out of one of her homes. And so, like, I actually recorded some of her stuff. I met her shortly after she started this idea. And she didn't even have the idea until she got this other house. And like I was here several months ago, and like it's evolved a lot, right? So I get to see peeking into people's lives of like their progress or their
movements.
Yeah, well, because like if their environment gets messier, that means their mental health has gotten messier to some capacity. And so like, but when you leave a place, you've kind of got this like snapshot in your head what you remember it to look like. So when you go again, you actually anticipate it to look like that. And so your mind now plays spot the difference, you know? And I haven't had this with everyone, right? Obviously. But there are certain areas that I've driven through that I'm like, wow, that area looks way worse, you know? And there are certain areas across the country that they never recovered from natural disasters and the damage caused by that. That there's a lot of that, especially like anywhere the hurricanes have hit. Some areas where tornadoes hit as well. And you know, I keep thinking, man, these people can't afford to like replace their house that's now falling apart. And
it's already been a while. It's already been a while. It's already been a while since the whatever disasters.
Well, I mean, even Hurricane Katrina has remnant damage that isn't repaired. You know. Ugh, pardon me. Sorry. Rock star. But yeah, and then there's also a lot of paranoia around anyone who watches the media has extreme paranoia, even of their neighbors. You know, so that's a little concerning. A lot of fear. But in the lower income areas, the crime has gone up, and you can kind of tell simply by like watching people interact at the convenience store.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's been weird to witness all of this with my own eyes, you know. I had an encounter with a security guard, which actually usually they don't go all that great, but this time I was in Fort Worth, Texas, and it was like my windshield froze, and they're like, "Oh, you can stay here, but you're in a bad neighborhood. Be warned, lots of drug users." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And like not even a half hour later, this guy who was looking for dope, I think, comes up to my window and starts talking to me and like offering his hotel room to me. And I'm like, "No, thank you." Like,
No.
I'm good.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
So it's an interesting ride to go across the country during a pandemic to see that almost all the roads are shit. I'm sorry. They're all terrible.
Yeah,
like,
our infrastructure has been garbage. Like there's genuine frustration and anger among poor Republicans because there hasn't been infrastructure spending. Like they've had legitimate jobs, good jobs that they know they can do, but aren't getting the government funding to do that job.
Yeah.
Hi, cheese guy. Hi.
Who's
Hi,
cheese guy?
we talked to him before. He's in Asia. Which country are you in again? Or Europe?
Oh,
Was it Europe?
I'm Myanmar.
Where?
Myanmar?
Oh,
Myanmar.
damn! How's that coup going?
Yeah.
How's that junta?
Not so good. Not so good.
I'm so sorry. I want to apologize as an American.
Yeah.
I honestly blame our Capitol attacks on your coup, or your coup on our Capitol attacks. If we hadn't had that happen, you would be just totally fine. Under
honestly, I don't think so. I think the military has been planning this for a while. So yeah. What are you talking about? Discussing about?
We're talking about Faye traveling throughout the country and what she's seen, what she experienced.
We're on a live stream, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah.
We're on a live stream. Yeah.
So yeah, I was just talking about. So I'm trying to drive across the country. I started in Alabama, which is kind of like, what would you say, Southeast America, and
Just
then
above the panhandle of Florida, like.
yeah, and then I drove. Now I'm in Tucson, Arizona, which is getting closer to the West Coast, except for now my truck is leaking. But during this time, I noticed a lot of on the ground things that concern me, but also I want to report to you guys, like this is important stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think certain things get overlooked, because nobody's witnessing it and they just trust the news media and nobody's like truly recording it, but also like I've been meeting with my mentors along the route as well. So I'm actually working on the Universal Basic Income pilot for the town of Fort Deposit, Alabama. So far, I've worked on it with Faye Koo, Angelo, and Joe, who's my editor. And so, like, it's already touched several hands. It's not quite where I want it, but it's to tie in other activists' work and people we've had on our podcast and other organizations that we've been working with as a team collectively. So, I mean, it's trudging along. Yeah, so I'm trying.
You do it, Faye. You do it the way you want to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, lots of work. So that's really cool you want to run, though. But yeah, you would have a few years before qualifying, right?
Yeah, it's going to take me like 4 or 5 years.
How much of the foundation of politics do you understand?
It's a lot of like following the money, basically. Well, that I don't really know.
Before we get to it, let's get into that. But before we do, I just want to clarify, Cheese Guy. I just want to clarify, you are welcome to speak, even though we're on a live stream. I just wanted to let you know that we are being live streamed, just so you know. But welcome to the show. We're very happy to have you and your perspective. So welcome. Very glad. Anyway, please continue. So yeah, I was suggesting that Refluence could run for whatever he could run for, be it alderman, even anything at the municipal or state level. If he can't at the federal, and if he can at the federal, do it. That's great, absolutely. And Refluence, you're saying you want to stream and do good with streaming, right? I think the best thing you could do is be a successful streamer with streaming. And then run for Congress and turn your viewers into new voters who support you and become your constituents and bring you to Congress. Yeah.
Like an influencer kind of thing. Yeah. I can do that.
Also, I mean, you could be an advocate for certain things that matter now. You don't have to be in political office. You can also set examples now, right? You can record yourself doing things or teaching other people or asking them questions. So if they train you, that means they want to learn too, right? So these are things to consider. Also, just remember you're not alone. You're not alone.
that I learned a long time ago. Like that was like when I got depressed. I had a long time healing coming when I got depressed, and it was a hard time, and I had to learn that I was not alone. I had to ask for help. That was the one thing I really learned from my depressive state. So but yeah, I got laid off or let go recently from my other job because you can see me in a different spot rather than the tool shed or whatever that I was before. But being unemployed is kind of different. But I have another job lined up for me. The McDonald's want me back soon, so I just need some sort of income, like a stimulus check or like a basic income would help right now. But if I had some sort of income where I wouldn't need to worry about like my bills or stuff like that. I could do like more creative things. Like for a lot of other people, like you could do like for me example, I wanted to I have like this weaving project here. I got was it palm tree leaves, and then I didn't touch them for a while, but now they're dried up and they're kind of hard to bend. So, for example, if I didn't have bills to pay or like I didn't have to worry about that much, I could be folding, weaving and stuff, or I could be out advocating for UBI, or I could be out like streaming. I wouldn't have to work a job that would take a lot of my time to influence other people. So a lot of these extra monies that would help would like really help in the end, man. You know, that's my topic. That's my thing. It's really tough nowadays. On top of a lot of other people, because other people would need my sort of situation, but they're worse off because they don't have the right relationship, healthy relationships, or because I know a lot of
Yeah. You got the right
a lot of
attitude. I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to I want to encourage you because you have the right attitude to leadership as service. You want to help people because you recognize you've been through some bad stuff, but some people have been through a worse version of it, and you've survived it. You've developed coping mechanisms, and you're trying to claw your way out of it. But it's a systemic problem, and because you have survived it and experienced it firsthand, you are personally equipped to help lead our way out of the problem by changing the system and becoming one of our elected leaders, in theory, if our government is to work ever again, if it ever has, I don't know. But you to take that story, keep telling it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but take your story and make it the start of your campaign, make it the start of your stump speech, because it is good. It is reaching me. It's going to reach your constituents. So go on. I'm sorry that I interrupted. Continue.
It's okay. Thanks. I didn't realize I was telling a story in the middle of it, but yeah. I'll talk about my depressive state from the beginning. So during high school, like during high school, my high school days, I put a lot of pressure on myself, and like I could do this by myself kind of deal. And then like a lot of assignments were coming up. I did the most basic ones like math and reading and English, and the major project was coming up, which we called it the senior project. I don't know if other high schools have it too, but they mostly do. Like what you're gonna do after high school or stuff like that. And my senior project was like computer engineering, computer technology, like IT stuff like that. So because I'm into computers and stuff, so I really hit like a wall. Writing my essays, writing my like a lot of walls. Just I didn't ask for help. I like that was the one thing I didn't ask for help. I put the burden on myself, and it was very tough. Like a lot of pressure just from anxiety, and because during the teen years, a lot of teenager years, they put a lot of anxiety and pressure on yourself, right? So um, after that, I almost bit the bullet with a knife. So and then I gave up, and I called for help with my parents and my family. I told them, oh, I almost bit the bullet. I didn't. I really love you guys. Stuff like that. I told my parents and my brother, and then a few moments after, I went walking with my dad, and my dad taught me like a lot of important things, like a prayer, like knowing the difference, stuff like that. So I was sent to the hospital. Because I was like a mute. I didn't speak I was like observing from a different perspective. Like when I got really depressed, I didn't speak at all for some odd reason. Like I just paused. Like I wasn't speaking like this at all. Like when I got depressed, it really hit me. So I didn't speak at all, and it was very weird to my family and my friends because they thought I was like being weird or whatever. It was just really tough. I remember when it was happening also. So like when I was not speaking, I remember when a lot of my friends look at me kind of sad, and I was like, Jeb, why aren't you speaking that much today? Like, Jeb, why aren't you doing this? And they tried picking me up sometimes, like, Jeb, why aren't you laughing? Like, it's just the weird way to experience, and it just
Well, because the mental health in our country is absolutely terrible, and we don't have like ways to really pull people out of it either. Not in a way that's like longer term, if you think about it as well. Because when you get there, you don't instantly even snap out. You're almost stuck there unless uh, you have like a crew of people trying to pull you out of this quicksand, and not everyone even has people to pull them out, or at least, hey, you're exhibiting signs that I'm very worried about. you know uh, I had to do some reflection very recently of someone who's spiraling, and I'm like, I'm just letting you know, you're all over the place. You're having all these extreme decisions. And I think they could really cause you harm if you follow through with any big decisions right now. You're literally going through a lot of emotional turmoil right now, and you just maybe pause, and then, checking on if they're eating or if they're sleeping. Have you eaten? No. Okay. Well, what could you eat that you could stomach or enjoy as a treat? Even if it's to just kickstart the food process, right? um, are you drinking a lot of caffeine instead of sleeping? How many hours are you getting? Only a few? Okay, maybe figure out ways that you can bring yourself to a place to sleep, because I think when people don't sleep, they don't eat, they don't have social networks, they might snap or make terrible decisions that are harder to come back from, not impossible, but harder. And as this pandemic continues and we don't have financial relief for people, we really gotta like it's almost like we gotta step up our game, but we're at half capacity because we're barely able to take care of ourselves. So I mean, we're in such a difficult place now, and I hope people are, even though they're zapped, making sure they're doing self-care, online resources for mental health. There's a lot of tools out there, but I recently also had to mention, like, hey, what you're going through does not sound like something I personally can help you with. This sounds like a work-related thing, and your peers might be able to help you with this, right? So maybe you need to find the right type of people to complain about certain types of problems to, because they have better solutions and they can think more clearly along the lines of what you need, right? And so this is just a general, not to you kind of thing,
right.
because we were talking before, but I mean, mental health right now is very concerning for a lot of people in our country.
Myself included, and everybody else included, because I think everybody needs a therapist. Honestly, like who else to talk about your problems with than your mom or dad or like your siblings, right? They're part of your family, but you need an outsider perspective to see what's going on, and that's what happened during in my situation. Because I mean, I love my dad and my mom, but the therapist really helped because they knew what type of spot I was in during my depressive state.
Yeah,
And
friends are great, but they're not trained professionals. That's for sure.
right, that's an important part. Like you need a trained professional to understand what kind of spot you're in, and then they can go from there. And for me, it was just a lot of burdens that I put on myself during my depressive state. And so so after that, I've I've been in the mental facility in Oahu in Hawaii, and I experienced a lot of spiritual journeys. And when one time it was late at night and I was sleeping, I thought outside it was like the Joan, was it Ark? Joanna's, not Joanna's Ark, but Ark of, I forgot. I thought they were gathering the animals and whatever, like the last humans and whatever. I thought I thought I actually thought the retribution, not retribution, but like people were flying up into heaven kind of deal, because if you sinned or not, or like I thought I had spiritual journeys. And after that, I've I begun to eat. I begin to eat, and I do my basic needs. I rest a lot. I eat a lot. My lowest weight was like 215, which is surprising because my maximum is like 280 pounds, and I'm at my depressive state. I was 215. That was my lowest. Anyways, that's what depressive states can get you in. Like, I think a lot of people, they experience a depressive state at least once in their lives, because there's no way you gotta keep a balance all this time. Like, for me, I thought I was trying to keep a balance all this time, but I hit this lowest low like all of a sudden, and then sometimes I hit the highest high even after the depressive state. So it's like it's hard to keep a balance these days, because of, like, I feel like I'm taking everybody's time or money because of whatever. So it's just
Well, I mean, these days I feel like we have all the resources we could possibly need to make our country better. We just call some of it trash, or we call some of it the wrong name, meaning we need to upcycle or evolve what we have created into something else. And if we rebrand and reuse, we could probably just fix all the problems without even needing money. You would just need to teach trade skills. And by that, I mean literally trading and trade skills as well. But like, because I've seen some incredible trading be done in my life, or I've heard stories, I should say. I mean, there's one you can find on TED Talk where a guy like traded a red paperclip up until eventually he got a house. Okay, a paperclip for a house. Okay, if that's possible, okay, what else could we do in this country? And it was like the first trade was like for a fish pen or something, and then it was.
I gotta look that up. I want to look.
It's a red paperclip. It's a real thing. But the beautiful thing about this is that trading ended up involving all these other people's lives together. It intertwined all these storylines, and it became this beautiful thing to tell people about. But I also one time learned about this airplane mechanic who had a couple parts that could put a couple airplanes back online. So those people would benefit, but they needed something from the other people. I don't remember what it was. Anyway, by the time it was done, so much more money was made and these planes were up and running again. And like simply because someone knew how to trade high profile items, right? And if we could start from a paperclip, what could we evolve up to, let alone airplane parts? Okay. So, I'm collecting a bunch of stuff here soon, hopefully. I mean, if my truck starts working. And I will be able to test this out with even more than just these smaller items, right? But, I don't know my ability, but I can level it up and evolve it and get better. And, the cool thing about other travelers, I mean, you stand out to each other, right? You see that bus that's been renovated, you're like, aha, I get you. You and I, we know. And then, but like, I've done trades with people. One time I had this deer skull that my grandparents had given me because they hunt, right? And I traded for a lot of cool stuff, really. And they got some cool stuff that became artsy things, you know. So even natural items that are collected could be valuable to somebody else. Maybe they're artsy and like can now make jewelry or an art piece or something, and then they are able to meet their needs. And I know UBI is very important because we need to pay things like rent. But you know, I've seen people who just let you stay on their couch. I know this because I was part of it. So there are alternatives. And you know, if you stay with somebody, maybe do something in return. Don't just be a slob, like, you know, leeching off them. That'll make them not want to help other future people, you know. But these are just thoughts I have. Everyone else is so
Right.
quiet though. what
No,
what
I
is
guess
everybody else's thoughts?
yeah. No, Maya is like sick, and Kaizen's just listening. Sheridan's just listening.
Yeah, it's just a somber day for me today, so I'm just enjoying listening to all you talk.
Okay, yeah, I can talk some more if you want.
I'm at
No,
Target.
I don't even mind. Like I noticed
Okay.
everyone else was quiet.
Well, on the topic of trading, like I have a shit ton of like collectibles in my house. like, like I have, for example, I have this Jollibee bag. It's like it transformed into a bag into a doll, and I also have this pop figure. It's rare. It's like it's a collectible also. It's like it says Jollibee on it, and yeah, I don't know what to do with it yet. Like for example, that's like one of the many things I collect. Um, on the topic of trading, like yeah, like there's even like cryptocurrency trading, and there's like rare commodity trading online. Uh, so imagine like those things on Jollibee pop figures and pop figures in general. Imagine those, but like in electric internet form. So like, what if I had this raw like rare Pokemon, like I could trade for like a paperclip or some shit. Like, yeah, dude, I'll give you this free Pokemon if you just give me $5. That's what my brother actually did. He commissioned trading Pokemon for actual things. Like um my older brother, he's into computer and stuff. But yeah, he would trade like rare Pokemons just for real things like $5 or whatever. And to top it all off, he did make a little bit of money off of that. Just saying. So, but uh, and well, like trading, like that's coming back to like the Venus Project, because the Venus Project is essentially a resource. Wait, what did I call it? I forgot what they called it. A resource uh centered economy. Resource, I'm missing the middle word. Economy. Resource based economy. So when a resource based economy exists, there's no need for a currency, because everything is by trade or by physical items. So there's no need for a currency, and what UBI does is like it eliminates almost the currency need, because you could do all these trade things, and it'll pretty much progress like creativity things. It'll progress like economy things. Like everything would be better if, nah, I shouldn't say that. We the Venus project is a very large project, and it'll take us centuries to get there. But if we could start with UBI, that'd be really cool, like universal basic income deals. And when the on the story of income, universal basic income, when the stimulus check came, and that was like when Andrew Yang was started first appearing, like when the he was running, like I heard about this stimulus check or universal basic income, and then the right along after, like a few months after, a word of a stimulus check came, and like a amount of like $500 $600 or whatever from the first one, $1,200, or whatever the amount was. It reminded me of a lot of universal basic income, and then that's what sparked me to talk about Andrew Yang and all his ideals and all his goals, because it's like, wow, man, this is a futurist kind of deal, because what else is more future than UBI, and like that'll just accelerate the progression of humanity and stuff. And
Yang's
I feel
run. I truly believe that Yang's run was the main reason why we even got those stimulus checks instead of just another bailout for the financial institutions. Because
right.
we moved the overton window on basic income so far that when the crisis actually did happen, it was just common sense to keep people inside and pay them. And we just kind of dropped the ball.
That just sucks ass, dude. Dropping the ball is not even healthy.
And what really sucks ass is
But
most other countries actually did what Yang suggested to some degree.
that's actually amazing. Which countries? I want to move there.
Well,
Do you know?
Spain is the one that comes immediately to mind for their how broad their monthly what was it? It was
Income?
not an unemployment scheme, but a furlough. Their monthly furlough scheme. And how broad and how many people it accepted. Like it took in artists, caregivers. I mean, people that are not generally considered like a paid job, and they just gave them monthly money. So
Wow.
it's not exactly a basic income, but it's pretty close.
That makes me want to move to Spain.
Sorry, I have a dog being upset. He's spaghetti at a cat.
It's okay. Dogs are welcome in the podcast. Anyways, yeah. That, like, I want to travel across. I want to go to Europe and go backpacking. Scandinavian or um Norwegian lady from Norway or something. Netherlands. Netherlands lady. She's from Netherlands, and she said she went backpacking in Europe, and she went to all these hostels, and she experienced like the Europe side of the thing, and that makes me want to, like, I have to save like $5,000 at least. Like it's a pretty hefty price, but if you could save $5,000, you just need a you 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 get a boarding pass, like a universal boarding pass in Europe, and you could take all the trains and all the trains and all the subway stations in Europe for free, and that costs like around $1,000. So, and the
Yeah,
rest of the money you could use for like hostels, or you can use for like food, and you just go backpacking in Europe, just travel in Europe, and that, and like you could do that in a lot of other places too, but they're not much in Europe. But
yeah. Once
eh,
we get basic income passed, we'll see not only the American economy explode, but a lot of tourism in developed countries and more small capitalists looking toward developing countries and seeing how they can actually improve the world and make a profit. So I really believe that we need to just get basic income passed, and most of the world's problems will just evaporate within a few years.
that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing, dude. Just imagine. Oh my god, I could be like, maybe a few years from now, I would be like a mayor, a mayor of Maui. I don't know.
that
That'd be great.
sounds hysterical.
I know, but I feel like I could actually try. I know a lot of people in Maui. That's why. So
Oh, I believe you, but just being called the mayor of Maui, that's a great title.
right. But that's just a pipe dream on my end. But
It's like
Oh, it's not at all.
because
Not
it's
at all.
alliterative, and it's
Yeah.
it's like not a major trade city compared to like New York, L.A., etc.
right.
You would think when you hear someone called the mayor of Maui, it is figurative, like it's a wrestler,
Yeah.
But it would. So it's I don't know. Maybe that's not a helpful take, but it's kind of funny. But be the mayor of Maui is a serious thing, obviously. You know what? If you think you could be the mayor of Maui, give it a try. Why not?
True.
What's your policy?
Got
Like, what do you
mayors
think of?
for
Tell us.
guaranteed income movement too. So
What do you think about
Yeah.
Maui? What would you do for Maui? Give me your pitch. Give me your stump speech. Pretend I'm a Maui citizen.
Imagine Maui, the
Yeah.
valley of rivers and
Okay.
mountains. We
Okay.
shall make it our home,
I already live here.
our true home,
Mhm.
where businesses and residents will thrive.
Okay.
Not as much because of now. We are not thriving.
That's true.
Maui is dying right now. Not before, not after. Now. It's dying now. I don't mean to say it in the epic voice, but
That's fair.
I'll go along the lines of that. I would say like the reality of it, and then I would say like, why would we leave it like this? And I need to put action into or words into action. Essentially, that'll be my speech.
That's a good.
I don't know.
That's a good touchstone. Words into action.
Nikayla has some encouraging words too.
Hi, I'm Nikayla Sheridan's girlfriend. My stepmom lives in Maui, and I'd probably get her to vote for you. She's so down with all that kind of stuff, and I definitely support anybody who's down to at least try, because that's what it takes. So good.
That's awesome. Yeah, send me a DM or whatever, and
Will
I don't
do.
know. Yeah. Thanks you, Sheridan's girlfriend. Cool. Yeah. I can tell stories about Maui if you guys want. Well,
maybe we should schedule you as like a full-on guest next week, because we're coming up at the end of our time now.
Oh yeah, that is maybe next week. I can like dress in a suit and do like Maui things.
Hell yeah, dude.
You don't have to dress in a suit, but you can if it makes you feel comfortable. If you feel it's appropriate for Maui. Why don't you dress in traditional Maui, or just dress not even traditional, contemporary Maui, which is probably like what you're dressing like. I don't know.
Do you know the business uniform of Hawaii is aloha shirts?
You know what?
know
Then
that?
wear that. Then wear that.
I'll wear a lot.
Wear whatever demonstrates that you're from around there, because no, I'm serious. Like wear whatever is going to convey at a glance. Hey, that guy could be the mayor.
Yeah, that's actually
yeah.
That makes me want to do it now.
I support the aloha shirt movement. Go for that.
Absolutely.
Aloha shirt, some lays, and just be obnoxious.
I like being obnoxious. Like
Same. Go all out.
Yep. That's the way. That's the way of the road.
Yep.
You could tell Maui stories. I mean, you got about 5 minutes. No, 3 minutes. So maybe next time, tell the Maui stories.
Okay, yeah. Is there? It would be possible to be a guest, or is there another guest lined up?
Well, I mean, we could schedule you to do an episode.
I'd be happy to help talk too, because I went there 2 years ago to visit my stepmom and did some photo shoots out there on cliffs and stuff. It was fun.
If you want to schedule a time when you want to talk about like Maui and why you'd like to be the mayor of Maui, sure, we could do that. It'd be especially good if you could bring on 1 or 2 people who might be from Maui to listen.
I could.
Then great, let's do it. We'll schedule that. We'll get that going. So I guess that's going to be the end of the show.
Then. Yeah. like bring people on my stream or on my side, or bring people from Discord? Is that what you're saying?
Bring people from Maui to our Discord to listen to you talk about why you'd like to be the mayor and what you will do for Maui, and they can participate and ask questions and stuff. And
I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. We'll have a little sort of a Maui town hall, and those of us who aren't really from Maui will learn about Maui.
Yeah. Okay. That's a definite.
That sounds great. That'll be a good episode. We'll do that for sure. So awesome. Let's go ahead and end it. We don't need to do our sign-offs today. We always do sign-offs, so we'll get them next time. Because Mia's sick and Faye isn't here. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for speaking. And we'll be back tomorrow with more basic income advocacy. We got a 3 to 5 tomorrow Eastern. So we'll see you then. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.